Thank you, Mike. Sounds nice. Well, it's Monday. That means it's time to go on the docket with attorney Patrick Dolan as he breaks down all of your legal news. And right now we have, of course, Patrick Dolan with us. Welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Indeed.
Thank you for joining us. Tell us about these detainees at Guantanamo Bay. What's going on there?
Well, you know, it's been a long time to bring these folks to trial, and there's been a few complaints about people in the news. But the truth is, of course, these are the people that have been interrogated. And just last week, of course, we saw that the interrogation yielded some results which helped to capture bin Laden, etc. So now they're starting their trial. It's a huge proposition. There's multiple defendants, 2,976 counts of murder. And so the big issue, the big story over the weekend was that these individuals are not cooperating, they're not paying attention, they're not behaving properly. There is provision in the law, both the military and the civil law, if someone is not behaving in court, to remove them from the court, put them in a room where they can see the proceedings by video, and that's very possibly what might happen. They put the case off what they call a placeholding trial date in May of 2013. Their next court appearance is coming up in June. There's a tremendous number of pretrial issues. There's a lot of preparation work. As you can imagine, proving up 2,976 deaths is a monumental task, and so the government is taking that on. These are death penalty cases, potentially, and so it's very serious. It's going to take quite some time. I imagine once the trial gets started, it may take more than a year, maybe more than 2 years, to actually put on the trial before they actually get to a verdict in the military court.
And another trial that we've been hearing a lot about the last week is, of course, the John Edwards trial. Tell us what the latest is with his trial and what we can expect in the coming weeks.
Last week was more of the same. It's basically personal drama. The issue is pretty clear. Did Edwards know that campaign funds were used to finance his attempt to hide his relationship with Rael Hunter? His associate, that was sort of the intermediary there, happened to build a house on some of the money too, and so he's a little questionable as far as a government witness, but it comes down to his knowledge. The problem is, because his knowledge is in question, all of his arguments with his wife in front of staff people, etc., about knowledge of the affair and all that are open game, and that's what's been taking place for the last couple of weeks. Eventually it will come down to what was his position, and it'll be interesting to see in Greensboro, North Carolina, what a jury decides insofar as whether or not they should convict an individual that they elected as a state senator.
Well, talking about a death penalty case in Riverside, Earl Green, what's going on there?
Elias Earl Green is charged with killing a police officer. You might have remembered the story from a couple of years ago. He was stopped, the officer pursued him, he attacked the officer, wrested away the officer's gun, and killed the officer. Here's the interesting part of this case. The defense, in their opening statement, said he did commit murder. They started right out from that. The question is it first-degree murder or second-degree murder? Because if it's first-degree murder plus a special circumstance, then you have a death penalty phase. But if it's a second-degree murder, you don't. And what they're saying is first-degree murder requires premeditation and deliberation plus what they call malice aforethought, or an evil intent. In this case, they're arguing he didn't premeditate or plan this. This was something that happened on the spur of the moment, and even though he might have had evil intent, he didn't plan and predict this, and therefore he should be convicted of second-degree murder. It would be a major victory for the defense if he's convicted of second-degree murder. If he does get convicted of first-degree murder, the special circumstance is easy to prove. It was a police officer. Obviously, he killed a police officer. Then it goes into the penalty phase. So we're watching very carefully, because as early as this Wednesday, they're going to start the closing arguments on what they call the guilt phase.
So on Wednesday, thank you, John, for joining us. And of course, if you have any questions or you get into trouble, you know somebody who is in trouble, you can contact John Dolan right there, Dolan Law Offices, lawoffices.com. Thank you so much.
Indeed.
The time right now, 48 minutes after the